Hi guys, welcome to, this is your day 3 or 4 of ELA. You've been to ELA at least once, so really it's like your day 2, but it's day 3 or 4 because of our weird schedule. So anyway, so y'all know who I am. You're familiar with your Google Classroom. If you have any questions, of course you could ask them. This is the video portion that if you're having problems connecting with Zoom to do the live with me, you can watch this, or you can rewatch it if you had any questions about what to do. First thing, we're going to talk about the learning objective today. Today you're going to identify elements of fiction and summarize the story using CSPS. I'm trying to get that glare off my glasses. I'm sorry. It's been bothering me. But anyway, I guess I'll just have to live with it. First thing you need to do, I'm going to share a screen. We're going to go find your attendance. We're going to go here. Going to go to your stream for your class. It should be at the top of your stream. Just click on your attendance. Fill it out. Turn it in. Of course, if you're live with me, I'm catching your attendance there, but still do it even if you are live with me. All right, so that's that. We're going to move into the bell ringer. Okay, so the bell ringer you're going to do in your composition book. Okay, so you can start on the first page if you want. Mine now I've already got notes, but you can start on the first blank page. I'm going to switch to the whiteboard over here. I'm going to share the screen. I'm going to go to the whiteboard. I'm going to draw. Okay. And I'm going to, oh, that's how I do it. Okay. I need to undo that. Okay. All right. So I'm going to try this with my stylus, see if it works. On your first page, you're just going to put today's date, which, whoa, that's not what I want. It's a little hard to do this, just saying. Okay, that's not working like I want. All right. Ugh, this looks horrible. So I'm going to just type. All right, so you're going to be writing with your hand, but it's not working out for me. I might be able to do this better on my computer at work where I have like an actual mouse, but this is my laptop and I don't even have a mouse. I just have the pad. It's not working out so great. So I'm just going to do it as text. I'm going to put today's date. It's going to be September something. It will be different for some of my classes. 2020, not 2022, although maybe if that gets us out of all this, that might be a good place to be. And then you're just going to put bell ringer, and I'm just going to do colon, and then I'm going to write when I think of birthdays, I think of, and then you're going to write. So if you're watching the video because you aren't able to join the Zoom class live with me, then at that point you can pause it, write your bell ringer, and then return to the video. If you are doing this live, then I will give you guys the time. I'll just sit there and watch you guys writing away. I love to hear the sound. Hopefully you have pencils, because I love to hear the sound of pencils. It's a teacher thing. Then we'll get right back to the lesson. But this is the video, so for that, I am actually done here. And I'm going to move into the next section, which is going to be the PowerPoint walkthrough of the features of fiction. I love fiction. So we're going to go to screen share again. I'm going to go over here, and I'm going to find my link to elements of fiction. Oops, here we go. Okay. So I'm going to go in here. You can just follow along on this video or on your own if you want. It's up to you how you want to do that. I'm just going to present. There we go. All right, so the elements of fiction, you should remember these from last year, but you know, we're going to review them anyway. It's the plot, the setting, the character traits or characterization, conflict, author's craft, which also can be known as author's purpose, the point of view, and the theme. All right, so we're going to talk about the setting first. The setting is like the, you know, you got the who, what, where, when, where, why. Well, it's the where, when, and why. It's what gets you transported to somewhere new. If you're reading a book, chances are you're reading a book that takes you somewhere that you're not, okay? So I know for the last, 6 months we've been home. I've been home. I haven't really gone anywhere. I maybe go to like Dollar General or Dollar Tree because there's not a lot of people. Really haven't been to Walmart, haven't been to H-E-B. I wouldn't even mind reading a book about that. But anyway, most books are going to take you somewhere a whole lot more exotic. Like, for instance, if you're reading Harry Potter, you're going to some magical world. If you're reading Diary of a Wimpy Kid, you're going to school. Hey, we aren't in school, so that's a vacation right there. So anyway, it takes us to a particular time, a particular place, and sometimes even like a different generation. Like you might be reading about the Titanic. It's taking you back to the early 1900s. You might be reading about the Civil War. It takes you to the 1800s. So it's always going to take you somewhere. And that might be what you're looking for in a book. Maybe you're looking for somewhere to be like on vacation or something, you know, maybe you want to read a book that's at a beach or something like that. So that's what setting does. So here we're going to see an example of setting by my favorite, one of my favorite authors, Edgar Allan Poe. All right, so let's see if we can put ourselves where the author is intending us to be. During the whole of a dull, dark, and soundless day in the autumn of the year, when the clouds hung oppressively low in the heavens, I had been passing alone on horseback through a singularly dreary tract of country. So I can imagine that, right? I mean, obviously it's not in current times. He's riding a horse. I mean, you can ride a horse nowadays, but it feels like it's not in current times. And it's like when it starts getting cool out and kind of everything's dead, the leaves have already turned and the grass is dead and the clouds are out and you don't know if it's going to turn like wintry in a minute. That's how it feels. That's how it feels where I'm at. All right, so characters are super important too. Like the setting is obviously important. You know, you want the reader to feel like they're somewhere else. The characters, they're super important. You have to be able to relate to them. If you can't relate to the character, you're not going to want to read the story. If you read about somebody that's boring or somebody that's, you know, that doesn't act like you do or doesn't think like you do, or maybe you want to read about somebody that thinks totally different than you. Maybe you want to, you know, like you like an evil perspective or, you know, something like that. That's why characters are very important. They can be people most of the time, you know, animals. They can be imaginary things. They could be ghosts. They could be anything. Round characters are the ones that are true to life. Those are the ones that we can relate to. They have many different personalities. They can have, one character can have different personality types, or you can have different characters with all different types. The dynamic characters, they're going to go through a change. So maybe they were mean. Maybe they were mean to other kids, and you know, then throughout the story, something happened to them and they changed. They became more like you know? So that's cool. Flat characters are usually like they're always going to be the way they are. You know, like if you're reading Cinderella, the stepsisters, they're always going to be mean. They're mean. They're ugly. They don't care about anybody but themselves. They're not going to change. Those are called flat characters. Static characters, they don't change either at all through the story. Okay. All right. So a protagonist, that's usually pro. I always think of professional, pro athlete, good guys. Okay. So Shrek, he was a protagonist, right? Antagonist, that's anti, he's the bad person, the wicked stepmother. Okay, the stepsisters, those would be antagonists. Lord Farquaad, he is definitely a bad guy. Okay, the methods that we use. Sometimes we're really direct. We say, this guy is a jerk. Okay, he's an old jerk. He was an old man. Okay. Or sometimes it's through their actions or through their thoughts or their words. Like I was in class and I was watching the teacher and I just couldn't stand what she was wearing. Okay, then you get the impression that maybe the kid's, not so nice. All right, so you can have very direct ways of knowing your character or indirect ways. All right, so this is an indirect one we're going to see here. Moonbeam closed his eyes and pretended to sleep the rest of the way to Bamfield. He couldn't believe what he had gotten himself into. How had this happened? He's never held a gun in his life, much less gone hunting for animals. And then it tells us Moonbeam, Dawson, and the killer bear. Okay? All right. The character and the setting, they definitely go together like a puzzle. So we talked about setting first and the character. Like here, the setting is the desert. We have lizards, snakes, Indiana Jones, school. Okay, that's another setting that, we're not in yet. I wish we were. We have the student, the teacher, the principals, right? Mars, that's your setting. There's going to be aliens, Martians, astronauts. Okay. All right, so this is our plot, our story mountain. We're going to be doing this a lot in 6th grade. Our setting is here in the exposition. Okay. That's our setting and like our very beginning. Our rising, I didn't mean to do that, but that's okay. Our rising action is like where our conflicts start to build. Okay, we might have just one, we might have a few. Our climax is the meat of the story, the most exciting part, when everything comes together and explodes and makes this big deal. That's your climax. And then you start your falling action, so down over here. And it's kind of the things that kind of resolve themselves and turn the rest of the story to finish the story. And then, of course, your conclusion is your resolution. There's usually always a conflict. I mean, there has to be, right? I mean, why would we write a book if there's no conflict? It'd be boring, right? There's a struggle between two forces, usually the protagonist and the antagonist. There's different types of conflict, though. You can have person versus person, which is very common. You can have person versus nature. We're going to read a book, hopefully we're going to read a book later that talks about that, where it's one person against the nature, like trying to survive. Person versus society. So maybe it's somebody going to war or protesting or something like that. Or it can simply be the person against himself, like your inner me, your inner thing telling you, oh, I can't do this. I don't know why I'm doing this. I got to stop doing this, whatever. Okay. External conflicts. Those are things that come at you from the outside. Coronavirus, external, okay? Or person versus person, okay? Person versus society, that's like a conflict with the whole society. Versus nature, oh wow, like we just had Hurricane Anna not too long ago. That was person versus nature. Internal conflict, that's when you're, things inside you, you're telling yourself, can't do it, or you're telling yourself things. All right, so let's go over some of these, see how you do. Maddie kicks Matthew. Okay, is that internal or external? Somebody physically kicks you, that's external, right? I mean, you're not doing it inside yourself. Somebody actually come up and kick somebody. So that's man versus man. Okay? Shano is stuck in a thunderstorm without an umbrella. Is that happening inside of them? Do they have a tornado inside, or I'm sorry, thunderstorm inside of their body? No. It's external. And it's man versus, if it's a thunderstorm, it's nature, right? Okay. All right. Now, author's craft is also known as author's purpose. That's got our foreshadowing, our flashback, our symbolism. We're going to talk about those. Foreshadowing is like when we tell something that's going to happen in the future. Like, it's kind of like we have a crystal ball, and it's kind of giving you a hint of what might happen. Okay? It's not going to give you all the details. A lot of times you'll see this in a mystery show or murder mystery. What's the show I watch all the time? They always start from the past and then they come back to it. Oh, I can't remember, but it's a show I watch all the time. They always kind of show, Lifetime movies. I love Lifetime movies. They kind of always show when somebody's getting killed, and then they'll say now present day or whatever, you know, like, that's cool. Okay. Foreshadowing. Here's an example. This is better than my Lifetime one. In Little Red Riding Hood, don't stop along the way. Go straight to your grandma's house and back. Don't talk to any strangers, and watch out for the wolf of the woods. So obviously, we're already like on a little bit of an edge, right? Like if that were me, and that was somebody telling me, I'd be like, oh, I need to watch out for the wolf, right? That's a foreshadowing event. All right, a flashback is kind of the opposite. It's like you're in your present day and you think back to something. Like I think back to the first day of school last year, how everybody was excited, and we had our new, you could smell the new books and the crayons and all that good stuff, and the brand new clothes that are brand new and not wrinkled, and you know, and now we don't have that, but you know, it's a flashback, right? Here's another example from Little Red Riding Hood, but this is a flashback example. Little Red Riding Hood thought back to what her mother had told her. Don't talk to any strangers and watch out for the wolf in the woods. Okay? So she kind of remembered what we had talked about in the foreshadowing. Okay, symbolism. That's like when we look at the flag and symbolism, right? We think of freedom and peace and all that. It can be all kinds of things. A journey can symbolize life. Water can represent a new beginning. Black and dark can represent death. A lion could be courage. The theme is the writer's message about a life lesson. Okay? So here's some examples. I'm not going to read them all. I'm just going to, betrayal is painful. Trouble can be caused by jealousy. You could read more. It's the overall theme or moral of the story. Okay? So in maybe Little Red Riding Hood, the theme might be, you know, not everybody is who you think they are, you know? The theme versus the topic. Theme is the writer's message, okay? The topic is like, what is the overall essence of the story? Like, is it scary? Are you afraid, like fear? Or is it courage? Like, you're courageous? Like, the theme is like a message, like it's a full sentence. And the topic is just like one word that sums up the whole thing. Okay. Presentation of theme. So the writer can express the theme through the characters, through the setting, through dialogue, through the things that are happening. It's not always going to be exactly the theme of the story is. It's just, you have to kind of think about what the theme is, you know? The steps to identify the theme. This is sometimes the hardest thing is to say, okay, well, what is the theme of the story? Like, I don't know. Like, what is it? You have to, of course, read it. Okay. You have to put all the topics. Like, what did you feel as you read the story? Like Little Red Riding Hood, what did we feel? We felt anticipation. We felt fear. We felt courage. We felt strength, anxiety. Okay, those are topics. And then, but what is the author trying to tell me based on those topics? What is the author telling me? The author is telling me that to be careful, right? To watch out for people. The people aren't always who they say they are. Okay. The point of view is, who is telling the story? Okay. If this was a written thing that I have out, I would be telling the story, right? First person teacher. Okay. So who is telling? We're going to talk about first and third person. First person is me telling the story. Character of the story is telling the story. Okay? Me, my, we, us. Those are really, really important words to remember. If it's I, me, my, it's first person. Okay? Third person is like somebody's looking over and telling the story. Like God is telling the story. Okay? And then there's third person limited and then there's third person omniscient. And we're going to talk about those. Okay, so limited, they can only see like one person's thoughts and the one character. He, she, or they. Omniscient knows everybody's thoughts, and it's still he, she, or they. So you have to know, like, if you're first person, you're I, me, my. Okay, easy. Third person's he, she, they. But do they know just one person, or do they know everybody in the story? If they know everybody in the story, that's omniscient. Okay. All right, the mood. The mood is kind of like those, we were talking about those points, those, you know, the fear, the anxiety, the anticipation, that kind of thing. That's what the mood, what is the overall feeling for the whole story, okay? Okay, we've got scary, suspenseful, mysterious. The tone is like the attitude. All right, so it's not the mood. This is really hard. This is where it gets really difficult to separate the two, you know? Like the mood can be scary, but the tone is not always the same, okay? And it's the way the writer uses the words. We'll see if we can go a little more detail than that. Go into much more details. That's the end of our stuff. But we're not going to worry so much about the difference between the mood and the tone yet. When we get to that, then we'll talk a lot more about it. Our first story is going to be mostly focusing on characters, the moral of the story, things like that. Okay? All right, so I'm going to stop sharing the screen. I'm back. We're going to set a purpose for reading. We're going to be reading 11. So we're going to go to that. I'm going to go ahead and screen share again. And I'm going to go to here. Oops. Oh, that's not what I want. Let's see if I can get back to where I need to go. Oh, there we go. All right. So I'm going to go here. And I'm going to go here, and I'm going to go to my classwork, and I'm going to go to 11. Okay, I'm going to go to 11. Where are you, 11? Here we go. Okay, so we have a read aloud for 11. So at this point, let's go ahead and just pull up the Google documents. And we're going to analyze the title. It's 11. Okay, so a lot of us are 11 years old. It could have to do with that. If we're Zooming live, we're going to actually brainstorm together about this stuff. But for the video portion, we're just going to, you know, come up with ideas. Of course, I kind of know already what it's about. But it could have been 11 things, maybe. It could be $11. Could be an age. Could be any of that. When we preview the selection, we see that it's a short story. It's actually an excerpt. We're talking about character traits. And then we're going to look for text features. We kind of already know it's fiction because we just did a PowerPoint on fiction. So, you know, our text features are that, you know? Yeah. All right, so let me go into, we're going to do the read aloud for 11. I think I even have a video of it, but I'm not sure. I think I have, no, I just have the read aloud. I thought I had a introduction, but I'm not seeing it. So, so I just have the actual read aloud. So at this point, if you're just doing the video, if we're together, then we're going to be doing the read aloud together. If you are watching just the video, then you can click right here to the read aloud and it's going to read it to you. I'm not going to do that whole thing for the video because you can do that on your own. So at this point, you can pause my video, click on the read aloud, follow along, and then we'll come back. Okay? All right. So at this point, you should be done with 11, and you're going to go to your CSPS chart right here. And you're going to open it up, and you're going to fill it out for 11. Okay, so right here, you want to put 11. You're going to type that in. You're going to put your characters here. Okay. And pull this down. Your setting, your problem, your solution, and then your summary. Again, if we are doing this live, I'm going to be going along with you, giving you the time to work on it, answering any questions. But for the video portion, you're just going to pause me, work on yours, and submit. And when we come back, we are talking about some of the vocabulary. I don't need to screen share anymore because I'm just going to talk about some of the vocabulary words. I'm going to go ahead and screen share though and do my whiteboard. Just going to get rid of all that. And I'm going to put in some of my vocabulary that we have from this. And raggedy was a word that we used. So what I would like for you to do is at least take the time to put this in your composition book. Let me go back. Sorry, we're going to put today's date, September, whatever it is. It's going to be different for different classes. And then you're going to put 11. Sorry. 11 vocabulary. And then just, you're going to put your words, raggedy. We're not going to do the full picture, illustration, all that. Just look it up. I mean, eventually we will get to be doing that, but we did have a lot to do today. So just look those up. Remember, go to your Bitmoji classroom, and there is a link to a dictionary. So you can actually just click on that link. It takes you to a dictionary. You can copy and paste your definition. You're done. Well, actually, you're going to be doing it in your composition book. You're going to be handwriting in here. Okay. So, so that's that. So raggedy is one. And then we're going to do alley. We're going to do nonsense and fiction. Okay, so that's that. So that's your vocabulary, and that's the end of our lesson for today. If you're watching just the video portion, you may want to go back through, take some notes in your composition book again, from the elements of fiction that we discussed, because you're going to need it for the quiz later this week. All right, I'm going to end with that.